continue to do that. So my request is that the board discontinue allowing me to give a public comment. If you don't like that, then allow me to do my district two report the way it was before. Everything that I talk about is Bonner County business. There is no inflammatory statement made. I'm not even going to address the inflammatory statement made by Mr. Bradshaw because I felt it was inappropriate. I'm asking the board to change it by making a decision to stop doing that.
Commissioner Williams, I stand by my decision that members of the board are not general members of the public. But I can agree with you that there are things that are valuable in what you bring forward. So I would move to allow Commissioner Williams to agendize her report as she sees fit, with the hope that it has to do with the business of the county. Is there a second?
Long as it's business.
Was that a second, Commissioner?
No.
Is there a second?
There's a second.
There is a motion and a second to allow Commissioner Williams to agendize her presentation for weekly reports. Is there any deliberation?
No deliberation.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Ahmet,
Yes.
Mr. Bradshaw,
No.
The motion carries.
I would further ask as we move into the next one, I think your public comment section, your form wasn't out there, so people didn't get to sign up because I think we ran a little late. And so there are people that had something they wanted to say that didn't get on your clipboard before you moved it.
Our next agendized item is with the public comment section of our meeting, and we will begin with Miss Susan Bowman.
Susan Bowman for the record. I see that you skipped over Asia again, and I disagree with that. Just wanted to let you know that. And I'm also seeing that Commissioner Bradshaw is continuing with trying to spend our money like a drunken sailor. And the way that you're doing that is inviting people to sue the county. Your little speech this morning is just that type of invitation.
Prove me wrong.
Calling somebody
Sure.
a liar, a county employee a liar publicly is like, I can't even, like, it doesn't even, it's bizarre. It's clown world.
What do you call someone?
It's clown world. It's clown world.
Let the-
Do not interrupt me.
Mrs.
Do not interrupt me. I'm talking right now. So
Mrs. Bowman,
the other
I'm gonna
thing, no,
interrupt
no,
you right
you
now.
are not
That's-
going to
that's
interrupt
also
me.
not
You
how
are not
it's
going to
worked.
interrupt
If
me.
I'm gonna
You
ask
are
for
not going to
civility
interrupt
from the
me. You are
board,
not going to interrupt
I'm gonna
me.
ask for
You are not
civility.
going to interrupt me. You are not going to interrupt me. Stop now. Zip it.
Com-
Zip it. Zip
It
it.
is 9:21 and we'll take a break so we can recollect ourselves.
Yeah.
You have 1 minute and 52 seconds left, Miss Bowman. We're
And you
pausing
should
this
zip it.
meeting.
You should zip it.
Thank you for your
This
civility.
is my public comment time and it's not
This
yours.
is the board's public comment.
It's not.
Outside. IDL, if you didn't get that presentation, I'm going to put it up on the website after we leave to make sure everybody has that contact information. That was like a school lesson. That was a lot of information to absorb. But as he said, we're not expecting to get a I gotcha by responding to those water notices, so maybe we should turn them in. So
Madam Clerk, are you ready?
yes.
All right. It is 9:26 and we are coming back out of recess. Mrs. Bowman, you have the remainder of your time to complete your public comments.
Steve.
You'd have to ask that to Commissioner Bradshaw.
Okay, so I will continue with what I was saying, which is that one of the ways that this commission, except for Asia, spends our money is that you invite lawsuits, and which is exactly what Mr. Bradshaw just did by calling a county employee a liar. A judge found his testimony credible, so him calling Mr. Jocelyn a liar is uncalled for. What I would like to know is what is the county's procedure for telling the people what lawsuits are out there? So Clerk Rosedale might be able to speak to that. Do you just kind of sit on them? Do you guys all get to know what they are? How do the people get to know what lawsuits are coming and which are not? And that instead of, like, I don't know, like sometimes they seem to just like come into the press and then we don't know how they got there, but it would be nice if you guys would let the people know how you're spending our money in that way. So, the last thing I'd like to say is that, again, the First Amendment guarantees that I can say anything that I want to you, short of it committing violence, which would be me yelling fire and everybody trying to run out of here all at once. You are not a king. This is a republic, which means that the First Amendment guarantees that I can say what I want. I can tell you what I want. I can call you names if I want to. You can't tell me what to say, and you can't tell the people behind me what to say. And to those of your followers who say that, I'm just trying to stir things up, this is the First Amendment. And if you don't want to fight for your freedom, don't, but stay out of my way when I'm fighting for mine. So again, First Amendment, read it, absorb it.
Thank you, Mrs. Bowman.
Mrs. Bowman, I had the litigation on my District 2 report, and so when I give it next week, I'll update all the litigation. Yep.
Our next public speaker is Mr. Fred Arn.
Three minutes. There we go. Fred Arn, Bonner County resident. A couple weeks ago, we came down and asked if the board would attempt to get a temporary easement for the Camp Bay situation. We haven't heard anything. One of the things that really concerns me is that we haven't heard anything about a $2.2 million public giveaway that was basically a quid pro quo. County got a trail, county citizens got a trail, developer got a road. The deal was that we would get the trail. A judge codified it. Once she codified it, it became basically a contract. And we haven't heard anything. And it's, as a person who judges people by what they say, by what they do, not by what they say, I have great difficulty with voting for folks that so far have not done the business of Bonner County and or at least informed us of what's going on. So that's
Mr. Arndt, I actually submitted your request to Bill Wilson to ask for an update from that developer, and he hasn't given an answer yet. I'll follow up with him today, but I did request an update on when that trail was going to be put through.
yeah.
So I did have a week when I wasn't here, but he's not online. I'll send you a message after I'll contact him today.
Okay, and one of the problems I have with that is I understand he's counsel and represents us, but you all are ultimately the people that are gonna force the completion of that contract in a viable way. It's not county council. At least county council hasn't done much for us up to this.
Well, that's why, remember I told you he was willing to reach out to the developer for the time frame, so that's why I did it that way. And
Okay.
so I already submitted that request to him, so I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Arn. Our next public speaker is Mrs. Jennifer Arn.
I'll pass. We want our trail.
Our next speaker is Mr. Dmitry Borisov.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dmitry Borisov. I'm a resident of Bonner County. Once again, I would like to talk about importance of public input. It is essential for commissioners not only to listen to our concerns, but also to engage in meaningful dialogue by addressing the issues with the public raise and explaining the decision-making process to us. Ordinance 1-200B clearly states, the purpose for the public comment segment of the Board of County Commissioners business meeting is to enable citizens with issues or concerns which they wish to bring to the board's attention and afford an opportunity for consideration on the future agenda for possible board action. This ensures that the voices of our community are heard and their needs are acknowledged. Simply listening is not enough. As commissioners, you have responsibility to deliberate on the issues, examine the evidence, and make informed decisions that reflect the best interests of our community. Once again, transparency in your decision-making process is crucial. Even if we disagree with your decision, at least we will have a better understanding of how you arrived at it. And a side note, you cannot yell fire in a crowded theater. It was a quote made by the judge Oliver Holmes in 1917 in regard to a Supreme Court case, but 60 years later, this case was overturned. So this quote actually has never been a law. It was just an opinion. Thank you.
Mr. Borisov, what exactly is, so I hear transparency, but is there a particular issue of county business or?
Well,
I mean, I'm just curious what the county business is based
So-
upon any of, say, the departments that are associated. For the last speaker was interested in an easement.
which is,
Which that's,
people have asked multiple times, and you read what they are, and they're not limited to. For example, what exactly do you guys do outside of Tuesday morning business meeting? What do you do? What else do you do for the county? Do you? We would like to know. Or I know Mr. Kramer has been asking for an update for IC meetings that you have attended. You know, what benefit in you attending those meetings is for the county?
I think that's
It's a
what the
start.
point of my District 2 report was,
Thank you,
to
AJ.
explain what it is that I'm doing to justify the payment that's being made. And there was a lot of understanding so that I could account for the time, and hopefully when we return to that on Tuesday, that at least you'll see what it is that I'm working on. But that, I think it does make it harder if we don't freely tell people what we're working on. I don't see the negative of telling people what we're working on, but I think that's why we have to identify who's willing to allow the community to have their seat in local government. That's important.
It is important. You know, I've asked questions before in the past, like how much money is going to cost the county to cover the lawsuits? And it's been almost a month ago, and I have never.
I did
Gotten a
put
response.
a lot of the concerns from the community on executive session. And so if a discussion ends up in a decision, you have to go into public. And so if people stick around, there might be something that happens there. I'm not sure if Mr. Bradshaw left or not, or if we're not having executive session, but we'll see.
Thank
So-
you.
thank you. Our next, Madam Clerk, would you call on the people who have signed up online for public comment, please?
Jonna Plant, Rick Kramer, Jennifer Kramer, and Dave Bowman.
Okay, if you'll just call them in the order that they signed up, that would be appreciated, and then let them offer their comment to the board.
Ms. Plant,
Donna Plant Sagal. If the case regarding the citizen's arrest of Dave Bowman and Richard Kramer was dismissed with prejudice, indicating the county, Luke and Steve, were wrong, why are they both not allowed into the county building to do business? I understand one is, but one isn't. Why would you do that? It's also crazy and eye-opening that Steve can use his position right now on the board to defend himself, but strangely never denied his action or comment during the actual hearing with the judge regarding a statement that people heard. Also, both Luke and Steve, when you want to communicate or defend yourself and make comments, you always allow it. I just don't understand. Asia has tried to clear the record several times in the past year, and you've just shut her off. Again, clearly showing your bias and hatred of Asia, and it's getting old, obviously. You've been angry with Asia from the very beginning. I just don't know if it has to do with beating Jeff Conley out. whether it's the color of her skin or whether it's a woman, but clearly
Keep coming
you've
back.
tried to shackle her. It's
Uh,
bad.
Ms.
We
Plant,
ta- yeah,
I'm sorry, but I am now a non-quorum of one, and this meeting is recessed because as the single commissioner, I'm unable to have a,
comments?
actually,
can't have comments.
no, there cannot be a meeting of the board according to state law. So this meeting is now recessed until 11. It is we have a scheduled. I don't know if they're going to
Why
be
don't you
there at
make it
11,
be a
but
commissioner
meeting
on
is
the
recessed
tax
until 11,
session?
or I get another commissioner back. I can't do this by my.
You don't need a quorum to have,
Comments.
Well,
come on, Luke, have some nerve.
this meeting is recessed, but what we can do is technology, stop the official recording, and I will allow people to continue, but the meeting has to be recessed according to state law. I'm not going to break state law for any purpose. But if you would like to continue with your comments, are you?
We're dealing with a technical thing. You can continue with public comment on right here.
Okay, we are back with a quorum. It is 9:38. We are coming out of recess. Ms. Plant, please continue with your comments.
So again, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, it seems that the retaliation of anybody supporting Asia is shut down, or there's a problem where they can't speak without being interrupted. It's not your position, Luke, to decide what county business is when we've elected Asia. She needs to be able to do her job. And if she decides it's county business, then she should be able to do it. Interrupting a person while they speak during their 3 minutes is taking away their First Amendment rights. And I don't know why you can't get that. Why can't everybody just keep their mouth shut for the 3 minutes so people can get their comments out? Again, First Amendment right allows us to be able to speak. And we may tell you that we don't like the job you're doing, as I'm doing right now. We should be able to say that. And that includes everybody speaking, not just me being able to say this. How many lawsuits is it going to take for our tax money to be wasted on attorneys because you abuse the rights of the public for them to be able to just speak their 3 minutes, and they may want to say their grievances with you, our local government? People have the right to say whether they're unhappy or happy. Please allow the business of Bonner County to continue, and this includes the business of people bringing to you their concerns for their 3 minutes without interruption. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Plant. Who's next, Madam Clerk?
Rick Kramer, sorry, I was muted.
Yep. Go ahead, Mr. Kramer.
Good morning. Well, Luke, you're the one person that's there that I wanted to speak to about Zoom and the limitations of the public. You dictate what's available and what's not. And I had called this morning and I sent an email on Sunday night asking for you to either leave Zoom up or to restart Zoom after the executive meeting so the people that can't be at the county building can hear what's going on in their county. And I got a response after I called again this morning that it was just too difficult. And I don't understand why it's any more difficult to start it again for Zoom as it is to start it for this meeting. And I'd like you to explain to the public, I counted 18 people on Zoom that can't make the meeting. How about you explain to them why they're not going to be able to hear what happens after the executive meeting? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Madam Clerk, who's our next public speaker?
Jennifer Kramer.
Good morning, Jennifer Kramer, Bonner County resident. Luke, this is addressed to you as well. I appreciate that now you will allow Asia to put her items on the agenda. However, I have to ask myself, what's changed from months ago when you shut her down till now? Oh, we're in an election cycle. So the motives are suspect. And I just want to make that clear that I don't, what is the saying? A tiger can't change his stripes. And so I would hope that this tiger, speaking of you, would change your stripes, but I truly question the motive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kramer. Who's our next public speaker, Madam Clerk?
Dave Bowman.
Good morning, Dave Bowman here, Bonner County. Well, as usual, there's so much here, I'm not sure where to start. I guess I will start following on with what Rick Kramer had said. I am named as part of the subject of the executive session this meeting. I am also forbidden by your unconstitutional move to trespass me from the building to attend said executive session public portion. And your refusal to Zoom it means that once again, you found another way to deny me my constitutional right to participate in government. And the notion that it is just too difficult to put it on Zoom is utterly preposterous. So that's number one. Number two, Chairman Ahmet, as I have said before, if not for double standards, you would have no standard at all. You love to read from the ordinance at the beginning of each meeting that there will be no unrecognized comment, and then you turn right around and let Commissioner Bradshaw rant on, accusing people of lies with no proof in a completely unrecognized comment, which you had just finished saying will not be allowed. Now, I'm wondering why you didn't call your sergeant at arms over to remove him from the meeting, because that was unrecognized comment. As opposed to January the 9th, when I stood there in recognized public comment that had been agendized, and you shut the whole meeting down before I even got out my first sentence. And there's your double standard. One more example. Further, you continue to interrupt people. You've done it to me. You haven't done it yet today, and hopefully you will get through the 3 minutes without you doing it. But the last several times I've commented, and today when my wife commented, you take up that 3 minutes. And you interrupt, and you violate everyone's right to free speech and to be heard. I invite you to come to a Northside Commissioners meeting sometime, Northside Fire Commissioner, because we have public comment there too. And you could come in there if you want, and you have your 2 minutes, and we'll usually even let you stretch it to 3 if that's what you need. I will sit there, and you could call me every name in the book and tell me I'm doing a horrible job and the whole bit. And you know what I'll do? I'll just let you go on and say what you need to say, because that is what free speech and open meetings and public comment are all about. And you could take a lesson from how we run things at Northside Fire. Let's see. And, you know, it's about time that you put Asia back on. She is a member of the public. You've done everything you can do to deny her the right to speak, which is also denying her constituents. And I echo Jennifer Kramer. Clearly, it's election season, or this probably wouldn't even be happening. You can have my 4 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. And as I very simply recall, when I attended the Northside Fire meeting and took pictures of you and your wife at the Northside Fire meeting, which I shared with you, but you seem to have forgotten, there was no issue with me attending that fire commission meeting. But thank you for bringing that to everybody's attention. And I may attend another one, because that is an important public service that Bonner County needs. All right, is there anybody?
Since you just gave your own public comment, because it's important. So
Commissioner Williams, would you like to come back to the dais for the board? Oh,
there's a reason I'm not sitting there, because we have a rule breaking issue right now. So public comment, Bonner County, Asia Williams. So where's my paper? And good Lord. All right, May guests for our commissioner chats are already lined up. But April 16th, which is next week, Clerk
start the
Roseville
timer, please.
will discuss the election process. I can see why people do the smirk thing. It just doesn't make us look good as a county to do that. I'm just giving information. business. April 16th, Clerk Rosedale will discuss the election process. I encourage everybody, because this was a request of members of the public to understand how we do the Republican primary. He's given quite a few discussions on that, but if there are members that wanted him to come back before this election. And this time I think we're seeing more independents and Democrats also running in as we come towards general. So some people wanted to hear from him. So I encourage everybody to participate with that. April 23rd will be your discussion with me only. One of the things we're going to discuss is what I find as the business of Bonner County. One of the reasons I bring these topics forward is kind of mentioned during the break. When anything comes into our county, it impacts the bottom line. It might not be direct, it could be indirect. And so if we understand where our resources are, we can better help to ensure fiscal responsibility of our county. The May lineup is already complete. A lot of you guys asked for Idaho Department of Lands. They are going to be here on the 7th. On the 14th, Happy Agers Priest River Community Center is going to come. There's a lot of changes within that community center. They do a lot of things for the area and the growth is significant, and they are anticipating a need for our community to help them as they're starting to grow beyond that particular building. And so we're going to have them come and talk to us about what's going on there. May 21st is going to be Panhandle Special Needs. That is an amazing organization that a lot of people don't know much about. They want to be able to tell our community what they serve. They are an over 18-year-old special needs group, and they're going to be coming to do a presentation. As always, May 28th is going to be the commissioner discussion with just myself, where all commissioners are invited to participate with. Our Spirit Valley Town Hall is on April 20th. We are selling raffle tickets, $5 each. You don't have to buy one. You can just donate to the community center. But the focus of this is really to focus on our community by also providing people with some needed information from our elected officials. We are receiving donations from various local businesses, to include a shout out to our Stone Ridge, who is donating a gift basket and some rounds of golf. There are quite a few others. I'm going to release the list of things that have been donated this week so that people can see what's going to be able to be auctioned, but also to come with a mindset of helping to support. So that is for the people in Spirit Valley precinct. If you're in Priest River, you're not in that precinct drops a little bit behind. If you go a little bit north of Conoco Station, that's where that one is going to end. So I encourage everybody to attend. My definition of business is anything that could potentially cost the county money, which essentially is everything. It's all in the presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Are you staying so we can continue with the other members of the public? Well, I'm not quite understanding. Thank you. I can handle this all by myself. I'm just trying to understand, because you were a member of the public and a member of the quorum, which speaks partially to the challenges of the way that this works.
There's no challenge. It's public comment. I gave a public comment. And so we're done. Just like you gave a public comment and then you were done. That's all that I did. That's all that I'm ever asking to do. You're creating an unnecessary problem. Just move to the next person or you end the meeting.
Thank you. Lisa, is there any other individuals that had signed up online first?
No.
All right. Now we will go back, as we've done the last couple of weeks, because we have time, with individuals who did not sign up. Mr. Kevin Moore.
Kevin Moore, for the record, citizen of Bonner County. So again, as one of the other brothers was saying, don't know where to start here, because there's numerous stuff that kind of comes up to where it steadily throws me off. So I'll try to leave the hardcore stuff to last, so I maybe don't get cut off. So as the one sister was talking about lawsuits, and so this is what I've been asking for a long time. And I think Asia said that next week, whatever, she's going to have a process of showing all the county people or whatever, but I'm hoping that it is extensive. I've asked Mr. Jocelyn to do this several times, so like maybe on one sheet, maybe all the way back from the Pack River buyout and the Silver Wing coming forward. I recently have just been appraised about, supposedly we got like a $30 million arbitration going on right now. And so there's a lot of stuff, whatever, that's costing us citizens through numerous years, money that doesn't come out of the commissioner's pockets, whatever, but it's like, I appreciate you guys are citizens, but it's like, it's a big fund that we're steadily getting hounded for, to where then we can't even insure our buildings. And so another thing too about Road and Bridge, a week ago, I asked you guys maybe to put on your agenda. I didn't email you guys this, but I asked you verbally, like I'm doing now, to give some more dissertation about the culverts that have been replaced. I think there was $80,000 for 3 culverts. And so this is steadily, of course, a high interest to me because of a culvert situation that I have going on, let alone the Verbetta scenario that happened in the past. So hopefully that's going to be on the agenda of the litigation next week, I guess, that we can get a better standing or whatever, so the public can understand how much we paid out at Road and Bridge to do that and the litigation, so that it can be an overall number from so that people know what it costs us citizens. And so I guess the last thing, because I could go on, and yeah, I was going to say, I think sister here,
Mr. Moore, you're supposed to address the comments to the
being
board.
she gave me her 3 minutes, that I could have an extra 3 minutes. So
This is not a hearing, Mr. Moore.
So yeah, last week you and I had a little confrontation out in the parking lot or whatever. You didn't like where I parked. And so when I talked to Miss Lupton about that, she seemed to be pretty open. And I wish now, and I'm going to steadily learn to do this, maybe to record the dialogue I have with some county not citizens, people that work for the county, because the dialogue we had back and forth, it was totally different what that she and I had this morning, because she was going to fill me in this morning about that parking spot. So I wasn't happy with what I considered harassment or bullying that you threw my way last week about a parking spot.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. For the record, parking in a fire lane is not something that we are going to, and
It's yellow out there.
we'll find out, but we are not gonna. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Oh, okay, we have exhausted the list. Is there anybody else in the room who has not spoken who would like to speak?
Good morning, Commissioner. Dan Welly for the record, resident of Bonner County. I went into the Idaho State Constitution and looked up the Idaho State Section 9, Constitution Section 9, freedom of speech. Every person may freely speak, write, and publish on all subjects, being responsible for the abuse of that liberty. And I compared it to the United States Constitution, First Amendment. United States Constitution or Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. There's a significant difference in the two. In the last 8 words of the Idaho Constitution, being responsible for the abuse of that liberty, it is conceivable that those words could be abridging the freedom of speech. Just something to consider, especially in light of Article 6, Section C2-1 of the Constitution, which is the supremacy clause of the Constitution. It states, this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made pursuant thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary. That means in all things, the Constitution of the United States is superior to any other state constitution. They have to be weighed against it. Lastly, or actually 2 more things. There are 2 cases I'd like to just You might want to write these down because you may want to look them up. Davison v. Randall, it's a freedom of expression section. And then Marshall v. Amuso, I give you the court case on that. It's the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, number 21-4336, November 17th, 2021. The county prosecutor, Mr. Amuso, interrupted during a meeting, Mr. Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. Welly.
My time is up, but you've got the cases, you can look them up. You've been doing that, and that's all I'm doing is reminding you. If I can have 1 second, please. I do want to leave on this note, and correct me if I'm wrong. Did you restore Commissioner Williams' ability to do her commissioner report today? Is that correct? That is correct. I'm sorry, I'm a little hard of hearing. If you would.
That is correct,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Welly.
sir. Thank you, sir. I'm thanking you for restoring it.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else who is in the Mrs. Welly?
Diane Welly for the record, and I'm from Bonner County. I think today demonstrated that this board is extremely flawed. Today, you were not the problem, Luke. You tried very hard to have some form of decorum. We watched one commissioner accuse an employee of perjury, opening up the county to yet another lawsuit. You did try to stop him, but this is the problem. That same commissioner has a restraining order against him for threatening the life of another commissioner. That was determined by a judge, not once, but twice. Did he make those threats? Now we have him wandering about this building, and you have never been a woman who has had her life threatened by anyone. A clear line of sight from that lobby is scary. When you have the person who threatened your life wandering about this building. Get your commission in order, Luke. Get them in order. Stop being prejudicial against one. Keep control over another who managed for a while to try and keep his composure. He lost a case, a hearing the other day, and he is unhinged. You need to figure it out. I don't know how you're going to do that. You can smirk at me, but I'm not blaming you. That there is a problem here today, and everyone in here can see it. Everyone online can see it. Put yourselves in the shoes of someone who's had their life threatened, whether you believe it or not. When I took reports as a nurse, I believed every rape victim. I believed every assault victim. You have to believe them. Let the courts determine whether or not it's true. Well, a court did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Welly. Is there anybody else who would like to make comment that is here physically in the room before I provide the last opportunity to the individuals online? Going once? Going twice? All right, if you have not spoken, Mr. Kramer, you already spoke. I see that Spencer has his hand up. So if there's anybody online that has not spoken and you would like to speak, I'm going to start with Mr. Hutchings. Go ahead, Spencer.
Good morning, Luke. This is Spencer Hutchings. I'm a Bonner County resident. And once again, I just want to bring to the board's attention that Darcy's laptop is somewhere in the county and we still don't know what's on it. And we still don't know what has happened with finances at the fair. And we don't know if there is money missing or not. And I still would like to find out what's going on with that. Thank you.
I'm going to respond to that one. The auditors are actually upstairs. I was at the fair board meeting last night. They are aware The auditors have reached out to the Fair Board, and there will be an audit that is being conducted of the entirety of the fairgrounds operations this year, and it should be done. It'll be, I'm not sure about the reporting date because I don't know the details for the audit of the fairgrounds, but this current Board of Commissioners has authorized an external auditor to take a full spectrum look at the entirety of the fairground operations. So that is happening, Mr. Hutchings. I don't know when they'll be done.
Okay, well, just to make sure nobody forgets about it, I'll keep reminding everybody. Thank you, Luke.
I think we need to clarify, because what they're asking for isn't what's happening. We're doing the one for it to be compliant with the current budget, and it's being fully done for the fair. There's a question about whether you go back historically, but right now, we need to make sure we move the deadlines for the clerk's office to get that, addressed.
Thank you.
That's it. There's no.
Is there anybody else online? Otherwise, I'm gonna recess this meeting until our 11 o'clock scheduled executive sessions. Going once. Going twice. It is 10:02 and this meeting is